Hey everybody, welcome back. This video is going to be about how I make my side-by-side comparison rig. Now what this is for is to use the video from a camera mounted like so, and actually be spaced up off the board just a little bit, with a cell phone in a, I guess, clamp rig, a spring rig, whatever you want to call this. So basically, the rig will go on like this. Camera will be mounted there, cell phone will be mounted here. And that gives me essentially a side-by-side comparison. It's not too much. I can still adjust the cell phone within that rig if I want it to be absolutely close, but I don't think that's a big deal. This also allows me to have the camera open and, if need be, facing me if I'm going to record myself doing a comparison. Now this will work if I'm doing two cameras, two cell phones, a cell phone and a camera. I can switch sides if I need to. It doesn't do a whole lot for position as far as if I have a second camera sitting on this side, a duplicate like this, where obviously if the end is here and I mount the camera here, it's going to be hitting, it's going to be in the way. But at least with this way, one of them will show me that I'm recording myself and I can at least see the status. So what we're going to do is we're going to mount this guy and put a bolt for these guys. Now these are standard quarter 20, and I have, where are they here? I have 4 of them. I don't need 4. I actually only need 2 because I'm only mounting one for each. And these guys simply thread right in there like that. Now I've gone a step farther to make this a little bit safer, a little bit nicer for the camera, and I'll show you what I did. It's actually pretty smart and will help reduce vibration and keep things where they need to be. Hopefully. Remember, this is not a professional rig. Don't expect, cinema quality shots with this or anything, but let me show you how this is going to go. So this is going to be set on a tripod, which means I'm using 3 of these little guys. These are little plastic feet from one of the installs that we do at work, and they were completely unneeded. They are 3/4 of an inch tall, and I have screws that are 1 5/8 tall. So with this, there was concern with what I had originally liked was how that sat, but it would have been too far for the board. It would stick through, as you can tell. So I had to do something about that, and that's where I just dug into my random parts bin and got out some washers. So these guys just so happen to be exactly the same size as the feet here, which I absolutely did not expect. So what we're going to do is we're going to take washers like this, we're going to sandwich them together. Take this guy, put them through, and now if we compare that to the board, we don't go all the way through. That's perfect. That's what we want. So we're going to do 3. So as I showed you facing this way, we're going to have 1, 2, so 2 in the front, and 1 centered in the back. So let's go ahead and mount these up. So we're going to turn this over, put 1 in a hole that I've already pre-drilled, like this. Just run them in. This is probably overkill, but okay. Now I'm going to do this by hand because I want to be able to straighten up these feet as much as I possibly can. At least give a semi-professional appearance here. Okay, now that's relatively flat. If I wanted to put a piece of felt pad on this so I don't scratch a table or anything that I set this on, I can do that, and I might. But you can tell here, nothing, didn't go through. So now let's do this on the other corner. Grab 2 more washers and a screw. Washer on top, screw, washer. And we're going to put this right in here. Start it in. I'm going to adjust it. Okay. And again, didn't go through, so we're good. Now we're going to put on the third one. So do this a third time. Get my parts together here. Through that, onto here. And I already have a spot marked out for it. Just a little bit here. Now that actually recessed a little more than I wanted it to, which means I'm thinking that at some point that's going to pop out. So now we have our three legs. Legs in the front. Now of course if you press on the far corners, that's not much, but here, that's pretty steady. Nice rig, we got feet on it. Now we need to get to mounting the bolts that are going to hold up these two pieces. And I need to break this video into a couple pieces here. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to mount the two rigs that go through the board that hold up the camera and the string-mounted tripod piece here. So I may change this a little bit. That kind of depends on if I come up with a brilliant idea in the meantime. But here's what I've got planned so far. So we have 2-inch bolts with a 1/4-20 thread, and I've already pre-drilled my holes here for both of them. And basically, for those of you that want to follow along and do this at home with the exact same setup I have, let's turn it this way so you can see. So I started from if you're looking at it with cameras facing toward the lens right now, I have a mark at 4 inches and 9.5. Now, I specifically marked off the depth by placing the camera on its side like this, so you can see here, and then just marking a hash mark where the thread was on the bottom of the camera. Now I specifically left a little depth here of the front of the lens because this has attachments that can thread onto this lens, and I may eventually use them, but I don't want them to get in the way of the board. So I actually, instead of being flush here, I bumped it forward a little less than a 1/4 inch. It wasn't an exact amount, but it was just enough to make sure that anything that sat on the front wasn't getting in the way. So with that, I also had the cell phone with its mount so that the camera, even if it was on the bottom of the phone on this side, that it wouldn't get in the way and wouldn't see any of the board. I could move this forward, I could drill another hole and do that, but I figured this is probably good enough, and I just went with it. So, now we are going to go ahead and mount this. So I'm going to, again, turn it back this way. We're going to take nylon 1/4-20 nuts, and these are going to, when you turn them, they stay because the nylon grips onto the threads on the bolt. So wherever you put it, it pretty much stays in that position. And that's going to be key because I don't want to use lock washers or Loctite or any of that other crap on this. You want to make this easy to use and easy to work with. So what we're going to do, we're going to take 2 of them, since we are only going to do 1 at the moment. And how this is going to go is from the bottom, it's going to get bolt up, a washer, which has already got a 1/4 inch hole in it. I believe that's a 1-inch washer. Let me check. Yes, it is a 1-inch. So that goes up, and then that will come through the hole in the bottom. Hook up like that. Now we're going to take the one of these 1/4 20s and we're going to thread it all the way down to the bottom and tighten it down that way. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to bust out some tools here. I didn't do that in prep for this part, unfortunately. I'll get the tools and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back with the tools now, finally. That was bad prep on my part. So, bolt heads are, I'm going to be using an 11mm socket, a deep well socket, and a wrench here. We're going to simply tighten this all the way down. So, what my plan is actually going to be one on each side. I'm thinking here because, like I said, I may have a brainstorm here in a second. No, I'm not going to do that. So, well, no, you're right, I'm not. Okay. So, sorry, it takes a bit of thought process here on my end. I'm always changing something. It's just kind of the life. That's how it is. So we're going to set this in. If I can get that back to where it was. There we go. Actually, if we set that this way, then we're going to tighten this down as far as we can get it to go, and we can actually use this foot as a bump stop. Look at that. Alright, so I'm going to have to redo that foot. Apparently it pulled through, and that's not going to be a good thing. Let's go ahead and put this peg on here. Okay, so now we're getting into the wood, and I actually want to tighten this down. There we go. A fair amount because I want to make sure it's going to be steady. Now this guy, unfortunately, he just popped through, and I really don't like the fact that that happened. That also means that the other feet have a chance of happening to them as well. So let me bust in here and let me find a replacement piece really quick, which shouldn't take too long here. So he's out. Where did I put my screwdriver here? Okay. Let's try another one, see if this looks like it'll hold a little bit better. Remember, this is not the most glorious way to do this. And it certainly isn't going to be the most awesome looking either. Okay, that feels pretty tight. I like that. Okay. So now we have a bolt like this, a little bit on the bottom, and sticks through, completely solid. Let's go ahead and mount the back side, the one for the cell phone. So again, take one, thread it through here, see it through, and take a nylon nut, and we're going to run it all the way down. Sorry, I'm not editing out this part of the video. I figure you're going to see me do this live, so just might as well do it. Yes, I'm sure I could have attached a drill to this to make it faster, but whatever. There we go. You can feel the wood compressing. Okay. So now we have our two mounts. Now, unfortunately, you can't just thread on the camera and have it stay. That's going to require a little bit of adjustment here in order to make this work, and it's not going to be as pleasant or as easy as you would expect, unfortunately. but there is a way to do it. And that, unfortunately, is going to require this guy right here. And I'll explain why here in a second, but we're not going to damage the camera. Remember, you have less than 1/4 inch to go down inside of this. That's not much to work with. So I'll show you how to make the adjustment on these so that you can screw it in without damaging your equipment. Alright, so how we're going to do this is 2 more of these nylon nuts. Come back here. Okay. We're going to have 2 of these large washers, which are 1 1/4 wide. And that's important because my rubber washers, these guys, are also, get it right side up there for the camera, 1 1/4 wide. Which, how convenient is that? They are exactly the same. And I happen to already have these on hand. So I actually bought these from the hardware store thinking this would be big enough, and it actually ended up being the exact same size. I happen to luck out on that. So they are 1/4 inch hole, 1 1/4 inch wide. So we're going to take both of these. Okay, so this actually goes where the camera and the mount contact, not only to prevent slippage from turning, but to reduce vibration and to keep any metal parts from directly contacting the camera so you don't damage your equipment. So what we're going to do is we are going to take one of these nylon stop nuts and we're going to thread it upside down. So we're going to thread it in, and this is going to take a little bit of work. Well, you know what? I'm not going to thread it upside down. Let's just do it this way. I was thinking about better surface area, better contact, but I really don't think we need it. But we are going to have to use our socket wrench in order to get this on. So fortunately, this is not going to cooperate very well. There we go. Have to get it past the burr a little bit. And so I know it's going to be hard to see here, and I'm trying to see on the camera what I'm doing here. But you have a little bit sticking up right here. You don't want that plus the thickness of a washer plus the rubber washer to be what's left over deeper than you can go into the threaded hole in the bottom of this. So there is going to be some adjustment necessary. Like I said, that's what this is going to be for, and I'll show you why. So now we take the washer, put it on top. Let me bring this back into center view. Take the rubber washer, put it on. Now this, actually let's do it on this one. Well, we'll do it here so I can show you. And we'll get the general height down. So now what you would do is you'd take this and you would thread this on right about to where it stops, which obviously it stops here but it's facing the wrong way. I need it to be out there. So you come in with this guy, and underneath you adjust this guy with this while keeping him straight, and adjust the nut up until it touches this guy and holds him in place. So obviously we don't want him on that one, but he's adjusted okay for now. So now we're going to take this other one. So we take this, we put it on, and we're going to run it down a little bit. Something like that. Stick it on there. Just clean him off a little bit. Put him on. And now I can take my mount, since this is where the cell phone mount goes. And look, that's almost going to be just right. That just happened to work out. But I still need to tighten it down to where it's an appropriate tension. So we're going to turn this. I'm going to make sure it's straight. Like that. Make sure he's rotated the right direction. I am starting to split it a little bit because I've kind of used and abused the holy living crap out of this thing. But it will still work for now. I am going to have to buy another one though. But now, completely solid, isn't going to go anywhere, isn't going to turn or rotate, and I can still use that. So the cell phone mount is done. Now we need to finish the camera mount. I'm going to clean this off a little bit. Put that on, check my height. That looks to be about appropriate. I'm going to grab the camera. I'm going to thread the camera on carefully. Okay, now you see we're already starting to get tight here. That means I need to turn the piece underneath because it's not in the right place. So I'm going to loosen it up just a little bit. Allow the camera to rotate some more. Loosen up. Rotate the camera and get it straight to where I need it to be. So I'm going to go with straight is right about there. Now I need to hold this so I can't show you the adjustment, but it's the exact same thing as the camera side. You're going to turn it back the other way and push it up. Not too much, you don't want to pull it out of the bottom of the camera, but enough where it's steady. Bring it back. Check it for direction, make sure it's straight. And now, look at that. Nice and firm, it's mounted correctly. Let's take the cell phone. Let's go ahead and put the cell phone in here. And there you have it. There it is, finished product. I now have a tripod. In fact, let's move this off to the side. We can move this out of the way real quick. That's out of the way. And now we have, this is the final camera mount. This now allows us to view the same footage from essentially the same angle. Now, for those of you that are obviously seeing this correctly, there is a little bit of tilt for the camera out this way, and this camera has just a little tilt this way. I can correct the cell phone with this type of mount by doing that, which then means I can check from the other side to make sure both are seeing level. This camera is supposed to have an auto leveling feature in it. I'm not too worried about that. This is really just a totally generic temporary rig just to make something work. Again, if I'm recording myself, then I can turn this over and now I can see myself and what I'm doing, which should be pretty much the same view as that. So from the back side, I now would see what obviously this camera sees and what this camera sees. I can either set this like this and record stuff from the side if I don't have much room behind it. Obviously, it's not going to do me any good to see from the bottom. I can see from above it if I'm setting it down in something, or I set it behind. Again, the camera, the cell phone in the mount can be adjusted left and right, of course, depending on where the buttons fall. I don't have a whole lot more adjustment I can do to the right, but I could go more to the left, almost to where it's touching. So let's find out what this looks like from a camera perspective on both of these. Put that on video. This on video. Now I know that it's going to be a little out of focus here. I'm going to try to get this so you can see them both. Let me turn up the brightness on this one so it'll show up better. Okay. So there you have it. Basically the exact same view, with the exception of this one has just a little bit of cabling on that side that this one can't see. I kind of figured that's how it was going to be. I can always rotate this one, or with just a little bit of work, I could rotate this one out of the way. But I don't think that's really going to be necessary. You get the idea. This one has just a little bit wider angle than this one does, as you can tell. You get more in the field of view. Come on. So you get more in the field of view on that than you do on this, which is kind of to be expected. But again, I can also, depending on how I mount this, I can change the angle up and down if need be. But basically, that is now my side-by-side view. So pretty much whatever I see on this one, I can then turn around and say that I'm getting the same capture. Hey, look at that. So I'm using another phone to record this now on this one. And who do I even look at? Here. There we go. Wow, that's a lot of trying to figure out what is going on here. So this is now a nice temporary rig where I can do a side-by-side. And you know what? Yeah, you can see on the on this screen over here that I have to do a lot of manual adjustment to click on things to change the brightness and focus on what I need. But this is going to be a really cool setup. I can take it with me. It's portable. It's essentially a tripod, so it's always stable. Obviously, if you press on the back corner too much, you can still raise it up. But everything is solid. This is the recording setup, just as cheap as you can do. I think I already had the wood, so that was free. In hardware, I think I maybe spent $6, maybe even less than that. It was like $5 and some change. So it's not like it's an expensive rig, but it took me about maybe not even 60 seconds to dream up, and then to actually put it together, because I had to, clean off an area here in the workbench and make the parts of the video, find a way to mount this other camera. But to actually put it together, you could do this in 5 minutes, maybe less. Of course, if you're following this video, it might take a little bit longer, but you know what? This is pretty cool. So I can obviously expand this idea. There may be some other changes that I do to this down the road, but this is pretty much going to be the final product for a while, because I would like to get some of this filming and comparison stuff down. I only have 2 weeks to make sure this is going to be something I really want, because I have 2 weeks to return it for a full refund. So far, I think this guy is going to be a huge benefit. And that's part of the reason I made this rig and took the time with it, because I really think I like this guy. It has a whole lot better video quality than the previous camera that I had that was on, I showed you in another video. It didn't take me long to figure out I didn't want that one. I came across this guy, tested it. This is pretty much what I want. So I think we're going to go with it. Now, another cool thing with this is that it's mounted so nice. It doesn't take hardly any effort to open and close this thing. And even to get out the phone. Without popping it out here. There you go. So I'll find uses, like, especially in this area right here. Come on, quit with the brightness thing. I can put like cheat sheets and notes and time schedules, and say I'm recording a demo and I want to write down the stats or the specs on a certain item, I can write them here and they won't be in the field of view for the camera. Now, of course, if I'm in front of the camera, it'd look funny for me to start reading something. But here, if I'm behind it, I can have all of my notes laid out and the video goes smoother. I don't sound like, I think it has, I don't remember, blah, blah, blah. I can have all my notes here like a cheat sheet and I'll sound much more professional. Half the time I know what I'm talking about, half the time, believe it or not, I don't remember, even though I know. So, yeah. Cool little rig. I'm just going to call it the $6 side-by-side. I don't know. You can put a hashtag to that, I guess, whatever you want to do. But with that, guys, hope you liked the video. Maybe this is something you'd like to do, but this will definitely help my channel as well, and I can also make things like this in order to go out various places and record other videos rather than take a giant tripod. So I may make a slightly more compact version of this, we'll have to see. But that's it for right now. Like, share, and subscribe, guys, and I will see you guys in another video. Hopefully more of you. We'll see. Have a good one, guys.